I put the initials anyway. Okay, we're
There we go.
broadcasting, guys.
Awesome.
So we're going to be talking about our personal experiences with San Diego Comic-Con and how much fun we've had. I date back to I went to San Diego. It was about to turn to 86, so that must be the first one I went to. Was 1986.
Was that when you first moved out there?
Yeah, and that's when the Challenger exploded. So I was there for a little bit of 85 and right on into 86. Challenger exploded in 86.
Early, like January, February.
Yeah, right.
So, why did you
go ahead?
Why did you go? Why did you go the first time? Now, were you working?
Well,
with people that went?
I came out here with the. I came out there with the firm intention of getting involved in comics, something like that. You know, I was following a girlfriend, Linda, who
damn right
she was going out there. She had a real bad experience in Dallas. I was in Dallas to have a new kind of money making experience, and wanted to be doing storyboards. And the guy, and I had some success. I did 2 films, storyboard films, and then I went out to San Diego and gave that up, I guess. But anyway, I was just following her, but I knew that the grass was going to be greener in San Diego for stuff that I could do,
Gotcha.
And right away, someone had given me some people's names and stuff like that. And the main guy I looked up that kind of set me on a path was the guy that founded the San Diego Comic-Con. Was right away, I think it was in 2 or 3 days, I'd visited Shell Dorf.
Really?
And he had, Shell's one of those guys that puts you to use. Finds out he didn't drive.
Yeah.
And in about a week, he'd had me drive him up to L.A., but the side effect of that was I got to visit the Forey Ackerman Mansion, the Acker Mansion.
Oh my gosh! That's
and
amazing.
so there were benefits to knowing Shell, because Shell was just shameless. The guy would push his nose into anything. He'd say, "You need to know me. You're doing Dick Tracy, Mr. Warren Beatty. You need to know me." And before you knew it, he'd be talking to Warren Beatty. He was just that guy. And the same thing for the San Diego Comic-Con. He's one of these guys that starts pushing his nose around saying, "We need a Comic-Con here in the city." And before you know it, you've got a Comic-Con.
That's cool. So I was talking to a guy yesterday that puts on the local convention here. And we were talking about how the con grows and that sort of thing. So when you first went to in '86, how big was the Comic-Con, or where was it at? Because it wasn't at the convention center, was it?
Well, it was spread around. You're right. It was spread around where Horton Plaza is at now. Main Street it had, and the Civic Center, or is that what they called it?
Wasn't it at the El Cortez or something hotel?
I was right after the El Cortez.
Yeah,
so I didn't get to see
the first place.
Yeah, I didn't get to experience El Cortez, but a year or 2 before that, that's where they did have it. I guess they ran them off. I don't know. I've got Scott locked on, but I guess I'll just go back and forth and have it cycle between us, whoever's talking.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
So you went out in '86. So tell us about going to the con in '86.
Well, I've got a couple of main memories. It seemed like I rounded up all these guys I got to know pretty quick, because that's the deal. I went to some sort of figure drawing class. Someone else had already worked. Oh, Brent Anderson, the guy that drew Astro City.
Oh, really?
Was the guy who organized our figure drawing class at the time.
At the con?
No, this is just for extras. And so I got in with that because Shell told me about it. And before long, it was my group. not by virtue of any sort of really uh, big action on my part. It's just that I said, oh, yeah, we don't want this to fade away. Let's continue to do this. And so I would organize the figure drawing every week. It doesn't seem like I ever shared much of the responsibilities. We would alternate where it appeared, because usually it was just in somebody's apartment. And I had a nice loft. It was called the Candy Factory that I was sharing rent with a succession of guys down there. One guy became a very prominent storyboard artist for Disney. And that's where our figure drawing would occur. And of course, down there in the loft, I was right downtown. Those were the days for going to the Comic-Con. You just fell out your front door, walked over, and there you were.
Where was the loft at?
The loft is right next to where, what is it, Petco? Petco Park? Yeah.
Petco Park?
Oh, yeah.
It's right next to it.
Really?
Yep. So
it's probably around where that Clarion Hotel was then, right?
Yeah, it was around all that stuff. It was facing a big empty lot for all the time I lived in it. It was amazing that real estate could ever have been going as untouched as it was back then. I would really like to go back then. It would be nice.
When did you live there, Ellis? Did you live there in '86?
I lived there 86 to about 95 before I had to move for San Diego. But I would make it back to the cons, even though I would be living in Orange County or Simi Valley or whatever. Simi Valley was the biggest stretch to decide. I'm going to go to the Comic-Con, but I'd go anyway.
Okay, so let's talk about '86.
Okay.
You said it was in Horton Plaza or somewhere.
Yeah.
And
no, Horton Plaza was around. Yeah, it was around. No, it was spread out between hotels.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? Horton Plaza's little hotel may have been part of it. I'm not sure. It was at one time.
Okay.
Let me see. Let's,
It may be again.
yeah.
Yeah, it may be. That's what I was getting ready to say.
What are they doing? Are they just spreading out or having to spread out?
They're spread out everywhere.
Yeah, they're out of room in the convention center.
That parking lot at Petco Park has a bunch of stuff out in the parking lot every year.
Yeah. Which I dig, walking along. That's where I saw all that hype that was going on for the new prisoner. And, I've seen so much hype just walking the streets. That's what's fun. Someone's selling something, you'll see all these characters walking around, giving you stuff and all that.
So tell us about that con in '86.
Well, I don't have firm memories of it. I remember my friend Scott Benefield. He was the sort of guy that instead of showing his portfolio, he would walk around with a sketch pad and just be drawing. And his drawings were good enough that anybody that came along with some art ability would start looking over his shoulder. And then, he'd have a conversation going with somebody based on that. And I was hanging out with him he was just sitting on hotel steps, in the hotel. He was drawing. Some guy come along, stopped, looked over his shoulder, and it was the guy that Doug Wildley that did Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
Gave Scott a whole bunch of compliments and everything like that. So I remember that, and as far as remembering anything like a display or anything else, I also remember downtown. You could see celebrities, just hanging out, and I saw the guy that played Freddy Krueger just hanging out, sitting on next to the steps leading somewhere. He's just chilling out. I guess you couldn't do that nowadays. To me, the con changed when Francis Ford Coppola, his Dracula came out. It's like,
okay.
When I realized, wait a minute, Francis Ford Coppola is at San Diego Comic-Con. This is not right. The universe is not behaving correctly. Those people are too big for the Comic-Con. But nope, from that point forward, it seemed like, you had people that were very big at the Comic-Con. Now, of course, it's like, of course we're at the Comic-Con. It's where we're selling our stuff.
If you look at up any celebrity on Internet Movie Database,
Yeah.
and you look through the pictures, probably 95% of them have pictures with the background at a panel at the Comic-Con. Whether they're, what you think of as like a genre celebrity or genre actor or whatever, they've done something to go out to the Comic-Con and be on a panel.
Yep.
Even if they're in a soap opera or whatever. Okay, so you said that you had interest in working in the industry or being involved in the industry or whatever. Did you show your portfolio to people either in '86?
No, I don't believe I've ever shown my portfolio to anybody. Hardly.
Really?
It's other than actual job interviews.
So you didn't lug it. So you did not lug a portfolio to San Diego.
No. It's I couldn't figure out how to do it. It just struck me as baffling how you would go about getting any kind of interview going. I didn't get it.
Really? Wow. But
yeah, I mean, they had those lines, but that looked like nonsense to me. Anytime you had a line that was leading up to 1,000 guys showing their work, that just instantly struck me as nonsense to even be part of it.
Oh yeah, well, and I'm sure with now it's very organized about showing portfolios and.
Well, there you go. I mean, organization is always a big thing. It always just seemed so random to me.
Oh yeah, it probably was back then for sure. So did they have panels? Did they have a dealer's room?
Oh yeah, But again, the thing I dug back then was walking into a panel and walking right back out, and having room to do it too. It's like nobody cared if you were drifting around and setting up for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to poke your head into stuff and see what was going on.
You never make it into a panel nowadays.
I know it.
Yeah, you would never make it into a panel nowadays, Ellis.
Well, you guys date back to really early cons. You guys went to a few early ones. Well, what year did you go to first?
2000.
2000. Okay, well that is a little later than I'm talking about. Yeah. I had a good 10 years of it really taking shape. It was so weird that I think I had my comic book come out in '95. My little indie comic book, The Bounty of Zone Z. I bought tables like I deserved them, and you couldn't do that now with that little product I had. It'd be ridiculous to even think you deserved a table.
Well,
but there was no competition for it. Nobody else was doing it to speak of.
How much
you were either in the industry or you maybe were selling some old art or comic books, the usual dealer items. But as far as buying a table to pitch a little book out there, it wasn't happening. And now it's gotten so crowded and so expensive, people have got to really pick their shots about going in for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And to me, it was like a nothing, almost an afterthought to say, okay, I'll it's natural. I live here. I'll be pitching my book. And right away in '95, I get the first little wave where they are sending people down from Hollywood to look things over, because at that time it would have been Rob Schraub getting optioned because somebody saw
Scud,
the disposable assassin. So he went into option hell. I think Oliver Stone or somebody bought that and said, well, yeah, we'll look this over and maybe do something with it. And of course, then when they don't do anything with it, you can't do anything with it.
Right. They've optioned it. That's why they gave you that check or whatever.
Yeah. And later on, you look at the little check you got and say, that was an awful little check.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the option isn't the big money. The big money's in the product
yeah,
for sure. But you gotta option before you get a product.
so I was right around that area. I would have probably been getting up from my booth and probably going over to somebody else's booth and seeing somebody like Rob Schraub was always a very reluctant seller of comic books. He and Dan Harmon, they wanted to be in Hollywood, and that's where they were. They were up there around Griffith Park, around that area where what's that movie you picked, Doug?
Rebel Without a Cause.
Not Doug, Dave.
Oh.
No, the one with Fred McMurray, Double Indemnity.
Oh, Double Indemnity.
Yeah.
He Rob would have been living right around there, that Griffith Park area. Well, of course, that Griffith Park area is also where Sunset Boulevard occurred. That area where all the mansions are at.
Is that down below where the observatory is?
Where what is down below? What is
Griffith Observatory?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Griffith Park.
Okay.
Down below James Dean's Head. Have you seen that movie, Dave? The one with under Silver Lake.
No.
It's on
You should watch it. It's interesting.
It is interesting. It shoots up a lot of cool LA locations. Well, yeah.
It's strange.
So I had a woman that came by my table, gave me her card, and said, "Come up to LA and tell me all about your book." She took one with her, and so there was my chance to turn my dumb little comic book into something else. But I had no experience at that. So I just showed up. We had about a 10 or 15-minute meeting after, going through hellish traffic to get there. That's the thing about LA that I'll never miss, is getting on the road to go somewhere for anything.
You've told me stories about you would go to something and not be able to find a spot and just end up driving home.
Yeah, I had a couple times
brutal.
I had a couple times where it was just such an obvious, you can't solve it, where are you going to park kind of moment that I'd just go home. I was done at that point. But that's the thing you got to adapt to, and you can't adapt to anything if you'll put yourself through it. But I was rarely up to put myself through it.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you got to power through that, man.
Yeah, I should. Yeah, you got to park. You got to park 5 miles away and call a taxi, I guess.
I need a taxi to take me to my car.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've never turned my car over to a valet in my life. Never been able to talk myself into doing that. And,
yeah. Some hotels you have to.
I know it. There's certain things you've got to get used to.
So when did the con go to the convention center? Do you know, Dave? Do you know?
I don't know.
What's your earliest memories, Dave? Because you've got some cool memories of it. You've got some weirdo happenstance things that happened to you and Scott's brother, Chris.
Chris never went to San Diego.
Oh, he never did? Okay.
Mm-mm.
I guess it...
Not to the con. Well, Dave and I went.
Yeah. We went for 8 or 9 years, right?
So you guys went for a stretch, 9 years worth?
Yeah. Well, 9 total, I think, but we skipped a couple. We went to Chicago a couple different times, and then I think the last year we went was maybe 2009. Then I went.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I went back in 2014, and from 9 to 14 it had changed quite a bit. So, and that was a 5-year gap. Now it's been another 5-year gap. I'm sure it's way different now than it even was when we went, as far as just things in different places and more crowded and that kind of thing.
Yeah, the gas lamp. It's always fun to go back there because living there, it was that gas lamp back in the day, man. That's where I first saw Tremors. So that's
Barry's favorite movie.
Yeah, Zach.
it's a lot of people's favorite movie. That's a good movie. But when you think about it, Tremors I think came out in like '86 or something like that. So that would have been right around the time that I was living downtown. Of course, it would be around the time I was living downtown, and me running around. I think I was on my second roommate though at the loft, and I only lived in that loft for about 3 years. So yeah, it would have been about '86 or something like that.
Was this loft expensive?
Not terribly with a roommate. It'd be cost about as much as it costs you to live alone in an apartment down there. Of course, back then, it wasn't as expensive as it is now.
Oh yeah, I bet living in that area costs a fortune nowadays.
Oh yeah.
The first year that Dave and I went to the con, actually the second year, first year we went, our wives went, and it was but the second year, and we stayed at that hotel what is it, a Marriott next to the convention center?
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be. Well, yeah, we stayed that. You're right. That's when we stayed at the first.
The
time.
very first time, that's where we stayed, and that was
Right.
pretty pricey. But then the next couple years, we stayed at that Clarion before they remodeled it.
Uh-huh.
Man, what did we pay, Dave? It wasn't much to stay there.
Man, I wish we could still get a deal like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, was it? I want it. Was it?
But see, they made it. It's a Marriott now, though, so it's pricey.
Yeah, I want to say we'd spent like $60 a piece a night or something. It was
really nice.
Something like that. It was really, and it was right there. That was the thing. That was pretty cool. The other thing, and I was thinking about this today, is, now I don't know when they added all the extra days, but today is preview night at the con.
Yeah, that's a big deal to a lot of people. They won't miss that.
Well,
It's
that
a big deal to me.
us because what we would do, Ellis, is we would fly into town. Like if we were going this year, but say it was 2009 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we would fly in like this morning. We'd fly into San Diego, and then we would check into our hotel, and usually we'd get there like noonish maybe or 1
or maybe sometimes earlier. Sometimes
earlier. Just we usually tried to get there as early as we could. And we'd check into our hotel and we'd get our stuff sorted out. Now, depending again on what year it was, you would have to go to the convention center to do something with your badge. Even if you had one, which I don't think you don't. No, because I got a badge this year.
Well, hang on. The first couple of years, we actually bought our badges there.
The first year, I think from the second year on, we had pro badges.
Possibly.
But yeah, 1 year. I know 1 year I bought my badge like a month before with no problem, and I don't know if I ever actually bought mine at the show, but I think you did 1 year. But we would go pick up our badges, and then typically we'd kind of hang around the convention center, and usually we were able to talk our way into it.
Yeah.
There are so many doors in that convention center that you just walk around. And they hire those security guards, and they don't really know what's up. So, and the convention was a little less crowded then, so we'd walk around, and we would ask people, "We got a pro badge. This is where you go in." And invariably, you'd come across somebody that would go, "Oh, yeah, come on in," and they'd let us in. And so we would wander around most years. I don't know if it happened every year, and certainly maybe not in the later years, but several years we were in the convention like. If the preview night started at 5 usually or 4?
No, more like 6 to 9.
Oh, okay. Was it later? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we would be in, much earlier than that.
Oh yeah,
like
a couple
2 or
hours.
3. Yeah. In fact, one time we were walking and this lady stops us that was setting up a booth, and she goes, "Well, I noticed you guys don't have exhibitor badges. Here's a badge that you can." But I mean, I don't remember what the deal was because I know we didn't have it the rest of the week. But she gave us some kind of badge so we could be in there. Do you remember that, Dave?
Times were gentler back in those
Oh
days.
yeah, oh yeah,
Nowadays, they break your knees and drag you out the
yeah.
back door,
Yeah.
and you're never seen again.
Times were
Uh,
better back then. No
well,
question about it.
well, I've always said I thought the con was a lot funner back then. Um, but I mean, it was the big thing that really soured me on the convention and made me say I'm not going back until well, one is it got so expensive, and but the thing that really got me was how hard it is to get a hotel. You know,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is destination one for a lot of people, and you know,
oh,
you can't get around it.
tons of people have told me I want to go on. Because I got a badge in the mail for this year, and so I've been wearing it as my ID badge at work for about a month now, or since I got it. And so several people have told me, "Oh, they'll ask me, what is that? Why you had this Walking Dead thing on around and it's like, oh, it's the Comic Con thing." And a lot of people have been like, "Oh man, I want to go." Um, and I mean, I want to go back. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. Now, I thought it was a little crowded. I felt like I don't know. There was some stuff that I didn't like about it. I enjoyed it a lot more earlier on. It kind of got to where it was just too much. Um, you know, not
Yeah, it is. Well, I don't know. It was always fun to. They had what they called the con flu. You're getting around an awful lot of people from all over that are sleeping in their cars that are making themselves sick, and uh, and then you're around them, and you suffer from that, or you're sitting at a table or something like that, and you're yelling all day long and get sick from that. I act like I've held down a table at these Comic Cons as a regular thing. I did it for 2 years, and that was fun. It makes me feel privileged how easy it was to do when I did it. Uh, but I'll tell you, back in '95, I was like this wild pioneer. For some reason, I ended up on some kind of panel, uh, and uh, and I was actually wowing people with the idea that I was using a computer for doing my lettering. Of course, the lettering I was using was Comic Sans. That's what was out. And
oh
so
yeah.
there was that time. It was that time when everything was breaking open. They had a little, you'd walk by and, hey, we got a new company here called eBay. And
Oh really?
yeah, I mean, it was that new. I mean, all that stuff that was breaking on the web, which I guess would become a balloon that popped. But at the time, I actually knew a young lady that was in our um, figure drawing group. We always short named it, called it Tag, because we met on Tuesday art group, and her name was Megan, and she had some sort of like an IP kind of thing that involved her and the internet with what she could do with it at that time, and because she was surrounded by people that weren't savvy, they just gave her all kinds of money for it. I just was blown away by how much money she made. I don't know if she ever made another windfall like that again, but it was just that kind of time where people were saying, "Wow, you know what you're doing. I want to get in on this," and they'd throw money at you. So that was the time when I was holding down that table, and of course, right now, the reason the con is so big is because we are all so connected. Everybody knows what's going to be at the con with a quick little search right now. Well, it doesn't take you any time. I feel very connected to the con. That's what I'll do with the con. I'll go back and look at YouTube's of everybody that went,
Oh yeah. You can
and
see
I'll feel
almost all
like,
the
yeah, I know
panels.
that place. You know,
Well, not only
Yeah.
that, but also if you think about it, things like Entertainment Tonight, things like all the directors or the the Blu-ray extras, where they talk to the director, they talk to people in the cast that are, you know, that go to the con, and they put that on your Blu-ray extras. So now everybody knows about Comic-Con,
Yeah.
and it's so overhyped now. It's on the cover of Entertainment Weekly, and it's everywhere. And I think that to me is what kind of killed it for me. That and what I call the clingerons, which are people that aren't really into comics, but they're into the peripheral stuff, and they'll get the tickets to the show. It's not really about the comics anymore. It's about all the other junk that gets kind of sandwiched in between the cool stuff, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. Well, when you look at all these guys that are making like big, big money doing nothing but talking about games on YouTube, it's like, is there really an audience for something that casual as far as just sitting around talking about your what you expect to happen in games, and there is, and that's another big thing that happened at the and of course I was involved with that too. The gaming industry was blowing up at that time, so you could be part of that. That was always what my pro badge was based on, since I wasn't a comic book artist.
It was on gaming.
Yeah, games. I got to go to E3s. That's the deal. I tell you guys, I don't have any distinct memories. This period from like 90 to 2000, I'm trying to go ahead and say 2005 or something like that. You were always going to cons. It was fun. You were entitled to go to E3 and all that stuff that was kind of local, And I got to go to a lot of cons. Even got to go to Vegas and Reno a couple of times for the arcade game cons, which is
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just said a porn con.
I've been to an adjacent porn con before, because obviously they don't discriminate. So we'd be down there for the E3, which is the Electronic Expo. Well, heck, they were part of it. Come think of it, it wasn't a porn con. I was sneaking over to it. They were just part of it. The E3.
Your
But
badge allowed you in there.
yeah,
Ellis.
my badge allowed me in there. I got to.
You didn't
I had a
Well, yeah,
picture.
you had that.
Huh? We had
Advantage of that.
we had pictures taken. Me and this one guy, Jeff Noble. He wanted me to have my picture taken with a couple of porn stars, and she was one of these ones that committed suicide.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What'd you do to her? Oh no.
She either committed suicide or she might have been. I think she was the one that drove off one of those. She drove off a cliff,
Oh jeez.
which they speculated it might be suicide. I'd have to look her up. I want to say it was somebody named Savannah, but it might not have been her. Let me look it up real quick. I'll tell you in a moment. Go ahead. Just talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourself. Ellis is going.
I'm right here. I'm not anywhere. I haven't changed rooms or anything.
To me, the Ellis said that when he started seeing all the movie people, he knew that the con had kind of taken a turn. I think is what he said. For me, Dave, it was when we went to the Eisners and walking back to our hotel room. We passed all these people in tents. It's like, what in the world's this? They were camped out for Twilight or the Twilight panel.
Oh man, yeah.
And it was like Ellis. They'd been there all week. This was like Friday.
Well, they were all there. They were there all week before the show started for a panel that was going to be either. I think it was going to be Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this was the Friday night before. Yeah.
I mean,
but
if that's their big fan base, that's fine. I don't think it should be going to Comic-Con. Take that somewhere else.
Well, yeah. There. Some talk about some funny memories. The funniest memory I do what? What'd you say, Dave?
Hey, Dave. What'd you say? You still there?
Come extra there. Yeah.
Dave, you dropped out for a second, Dave.
I wonder if I'm causing it by flipping
By
around and.
Googling. You might be. Stop looking at porn.
Okay, I'll stop.
I can hear you guys.
Okay,
Oh, okay. Okay, we can hear you now. What'd you say?
I'm gonna go get some coffee. I'll be right back.
What'd you say, Dave? Oh, we got dead air. I don't know if Dave can hear me or not.
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you for a second. Well, I was going to tell a story, but Ellis left. Can you hear me? Oh.
Oh. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I got it. You know, Dave, I got a ticket this year. I got a ticket last year. You know, if my book's out, I may go next year. I don't know if you'd be interested in going with me or not.
Some lead time, and
Yeah, you keep dropping out, Dave.
I've had to hang up and get back on twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy cow, dude.
Fine, but Ellis is very twangy. Like it sounds almost digital when he talks sometimes.
Really? Both of you guys sound okay, except for you drop out occasionally.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm dropping out.
I was going to blame Ellis for watching porn, but I don't know where he went. I guess he went to get coffee. Anyway, yeah, I'll let you know if I'm planning on going or not. You know,
Well, when would
I
you
don't
make up
know.
your mind on that?
No, not right now.
Oh man,
before the end of the year.
it shows me something about the settings I've got on my my camcorder. Look at that. You can't even make that out, can you?
It's trimmers.
Trimmers, yeah.
I can make it out. Well,
It's a library copy. I've got the contrast up too high on my it works for what I do.
Oh yeah, the library. I've never seen Trimmers. I'll have to check it out.
Oh man, you've never seen Trimmers? Man alive.
Don't tell Barry, please.
Oh, goodness.
He'll give you a copy. Oops, never mind. I didn't say that.
Yeah. Well, knowing Barry's probably got an extra copy floating around on DVD that, you know.
I don't get why he likes that so much. He was
What's that? What'd you just say? I didn't get it.
But I feel like, from talking to Barry, I feel like he's got a pretty refined taste in cinema. I don't know why he puts Trimmers so high on his like scale.
Let's say it's so well made. It's just perfect. Do you ever watch Red Letter Media? If you're a big Star Wars fan, they're the ones that took all the recent efforts of Star Wars apart. They really did some nasty postmortems on how bad and why it was so bad. But they love Tremors.
Really?
Yeah, and they just went through it step by step on why you would love it, because you introduce your characters, it unfolds and it complicates itself, and it gets you in situations where you just learn more and more. You learn more about the creature in such a fun, gradual way. It's really a great script. Is what it is.
I'll take your word for it, but one of these days I'll watch it.
Yeah, I checked to see if it was on Netflix before I tried to get it from the library, and couldn't find it either on Prime or on Netflix. I finished off Stranger Things. That's another thing that would be an automatic crew that would show up if they were set to promote it. Would be something like Stranger Things.
I guarantee they've been there a couple times.
Oh yeah.
Which season did you watch? The latest season?
Yeah, yeah, I'm all caught up. Yeah, I'll
Yes,
never watch any of them over again. It really is a chore to watch this season three. Season two was almost unwatchable as well.
really.
I thought it was. I don't know. Hey, we lost Dave. He's gone.
Yeah, I think we lost Dave. I think he was having connection issues.
Hmm, okay. Well, he can get back with that exact same link if he wants back.
Well, I think he had got on and off a couple times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be this earthworm. We're supposedly drawing earthworm Jim on drawn and quartered tonight.
Oh, really?
I don't know if
Doug,
my brain's in the right place for drawing. I've been trying to dabble a bit at getting started on a drawing. I've got a little bit of earthworm Jim reference out. I need to draw smaller is what I need to do.
oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I was telling a story. I was hoping Dave would be here. Hopefully he's watching or will watch or uh I one a funny San Diego story that I always think of is we went one the first year we went in 2000. Marvel had a pretty big booth because the first X-Men movie had just come out that week.
Yeah.
So that was the first year. Then we didn't go in 2001. We went in 2002. Now 2002, Marvel did not have a booth. They had a long table on one of the aisles, just like an independent publisher would have.
Yeah. Uh huh.
And so we went, and that was when I met CB Sobolski because he was manning the booth at one point, and he was doing portfolio reviews. That's how I met CB.
Uh huh.
The next year, I believe it was the next year, 2003. We went, and I may have these reversed, but no, it was 2000. It wasn't 2003, or maybe. Anyway, one year we went, and it was when Marvel was doing really bad in the early 2000s. They had
Yeah. Yeah.
another. They had another because they wouldn't have a table. They would. I mean, they wouldn't have a booth. They'd have a table. Well, there was a table that was their number, but there was nobody there. At least that one year, they had a sign of some sort.
Yeah. The boom and bust. You could track it at Comic Con. Yeah, there was a lot of boom and busting going on in comics. Hey, Dave. Dave's back.
I'm, I'm back.
So, Dave, you're just in time. I was telling Ellis how the second year I think it was we went to Comic Con was the year I met CB, and Marvel had a long table like down one of the aisles. They didn't have a booth, right? And like the next year, or maybe the year after that, but when Marvel was doing really poorly and they were in bankruptcy, I'm sure they were listed in the program, but they had there was a table there, but there was nobody there. So like preview night we went, and there was nobody there, and like the next day we went, and there was nobody there. And at one point, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I were because we were always buying stuff, so we were like arranging stuff in our bag, and so we sat down, and the table didn't go all the way to the wall, so we sat behind the marble table. There were two chairs there. We sat there for a long time, and a couple of people came up and said, "Hey, is this the Marvel booth?" And we are like, "Yeah."
Damn right it is.
Are you with Marvel? Well,
Sure.
no.
We're just resting our dogs.
Well, the only evidence of Marvel life I ever saw at that table was at one point a sign appeared that said portfolio reviews at 12 o'clock. And like at 12 o'clock, I went to the booth and there was about I kind of hung out around it to see if anybody else was show because I never want to start a line because once you start it gets huge.
Yeah.
So I kind of watched to see if anybody else showed up, and like one other guy showed up with a portfolio. And so then we started a line, but like sure enough, like at 12 o'clock, I think it was CB Sobolski showed up and started, reviewing portfolios and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, now they may have one of the biggest booths out there, outside of maybe like Lucasfilm or something.
Um, Possibly they've got a big booth now. You're right about that.
Or maybe gaming.
DC's got a big booth too, though.
our friend Mario White is putting out a book with Keen Spot, and he called me about a month and a half ago and said, "Hey, are you going to San Diego?" And I said, "Well, probably not."
You know, told everybody that you've got a badge and you aren't going
Well, I
because
have.
those badges are gold, you know.
Oh, I know. I know. I know. Uh, but so Mario is doing a comic called Sister Powers through a company called Keen Spot, and they told him if he'd go out to the con, they would put his cover on like one of those big banners, and they would let him do. He's gonna do some panels. He's gonna do a couple signings. Dude is crazy. I mean, just all of a sudden, but the Keen Spot booth is right next. It's right between, I believe, the Marvel and the DC booth, or Marvel and Image, maybe. It's like right by the Marvel booth. He was
Well,
telling me.
is he going to do it?
Oh yeah, he's
Okay.
there.
All right, cool.
He's posted. You know Mario, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's what I thought. But yeah, that's
No, he's got a really cool style. I think he could, you know, if he wants to go mainstream, he definitely could. But what's the point? I mean, you can make it in comics with these Indiegogo business models. You can make it big. You know, just put yourself out there with
would
junk like this, YouTube channels and stuff like that.
would Doug Tenapple made crossed $241,000 today or something like that.
Oh, he's up to 700 and I
Oh, what
don't
did
know
I
how
say?
much.
200? Yeah, 700,000. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
Crazy
he's
money, man,
crazy
for a
money.
comic.
Yep.
For a comic.
Well, it'd be really nice money if it was a comic. He puts out little hardcover books for these
Okay,
things.
okay, it's a book. Sorry,
Yeah, it is a book.
sorry, Doug.
Yeah.
Well, Doug is like the real deal. I mean, Earthworm, he's kind of earned his bones, so to speak.
Yeah, he and that Van Skyber, who, you know, I dig what he's up to in terms of like as a promotional entity. You know, I've watched, you know,
Yeah.
several of his videos. Uh,
You
there
talking
are
Ethan or
so
Noah?
many people pitching themselves now in this way, pitching themselves over YouTube and having their little entity, you know, show up and trying to get a little fan base. And it's the only way to go. I mean, to have basically, it's like the power of the mailing list. It's like Glengarry Glenn Ross. You know, you give me the Glengarry Glenn Ross data so I can make some money here. Quit treating me like a peon. You know, I need the real stuff. Well,
Would
you create your own success if you've got your own little mailing list of people that are interested in what you do. You know.
Yeah. What'd you
Yeah.
say, Dave? You said something.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm hogging everything.
No, you're fine. I just asked if it was Noah or Ethan Van Sciver.
It's Ethan.
Okay,
Ethan, why do you know a Noah?
that's his brother.
Who he is?
I'm pretty sure it's his brother. He does comics also.
I think it is.
But he does
What does he do?
well. He does more non-mainstream. He does like independent kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Totally different style. It's more cartoony, I do believe, from what I'm remembering.
Well,
I'll have to look that up.
Ethan has kind of been blacklisted out of the comics industry.
Well,
So,
he chose that path. Yeah.
well, yeah, he chose that path, but it's
Is it because of his piano playing and his singing?
It
yes,
might
that's
be.
it. That's it. That's absolutely it.
That would get me put him on any sort of, you know, if you asked me to sign a list, put him on it, I'd do it based on uh, karaoke singing. Yeah.
The well, the thing about Doug is has Earthworm Jim, which has a huge following. Was a big game, at the time, and then all the other stuff he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, how many Scholastic books has he done?
Well, that's another thing, Doug. You talk about your Comic Con. Doug would have a table, and nothing elaborate. He'd have a table, and he'd have that big. I guess he's lugged it around quite a bit. He's got a figure that's probably about a yard high of Earthworm Jim. It's
Oh,
really,
really?
really a cool sculpt. I don't know how much it'd be worth. Probably be worth quite a bit. And it's said that, and, you know, he always gets a lot of traffic. You talk about building your audience. He's built that huge audience up.
Well, and I think he's smart the way he deals with some of the controversial stuff. I mean, other people may disagree, but he seems to be able to just handle it and not really respond to it. Some people, I think, respond to it and they kind of swerve right into it, you know.
Oh well, no, he's responded in ways that get him called all manner of names. He's well hated. He's got a
Oh,
lot of
no, no,
haters.
no. Yeah, well, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I think he does it in a way that a reasonable person does not think. You know,
He's not calling people out. He's not saying I'm going to meet you.
yeah, he's not, and I don't think
We're going to have it out.
and I don't think he ever comes across as mean spirited.
No.
You know.
Well,
Whereas
yeah, yeah. Fun kind of mean. He's always been a little bit mean. He, you know, there's no. I don't think there is such a thing as humor without being mean.
Well, okay, that is true, but he just seems to be able to. I don't know. Handle to me, he can handle. It seems like he can handle it a little bit more. He deals with controversy in a way that I kind of admire.
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't apologize or bend the knee, but then at the same time, he never really seems to he to put stuff in such a way that's like indefensible.
Yeah.
You know, a reasonable person, I think, can get along with him. You know, he never comes across as mean spirited or hateful or you know.
I think I'll share with the crowd here in terms of what we can easily go into a discussion of, because you guys are James Bond fans. I know that for a
Yeah.
fact.
Oh no.
Go ahead. Tell me all about what you think about the idea of a sassy black woman becoming a James Bond.
Is this a real thing?
I don't know. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like it could possibly be real, does it?
Do we have
Well,
an actress name already, or is it just something?
I've been seeing some picture. It's like, my God, pick a sexy woman anyway. You know, if you're going to have someone who's synonymous with sex, pick someone that doesn't look like they're going to rape you if they have any sex.
Well, I heard about today at the comic shop, and I'm like, I told the guy that was telling me this, I told him, I said, Bond is my favorite franchise. Bond is my franchise above Star Wars, above Star Trek, above comic books.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my favorite thing is James Bond. And if they do this, I am 100% out.
Yeah, there's just no point.
There's no way I would be in.
They've just done something to do something. I mean, I don't get it.
There's got to be another Daniel Craig guy out there, you know?
Well,
that's about 30, 35 that could be in about 4 or 5 movies before he's too old to do it.
I guess there's a weird self-consciousness. I guess
they're not doing it because there's nobody available. They're doing it because they want to make a point.
Well, I get that, and it's a stupid point.
Yeah. Well, I agree. With that.
If you're getting too far away from what the source material is about, it's not that anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's not that. I mean, I agree with that. But my thing is, why would you change a winning formula?
Well, exactly. It's stupid. We've got those other female empowerment assassin movies or spy movies.
Sure.
There's plenty of them.
Good. They're done well too. Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's been in one. We've had what's it called? The Red. What was it? The one. The
Red Sparrow.
Red Sparrow.
Atomic Blonde was really good.
We've got movies.
Yeah,
there's movies like that all the time. We don't need them to fuck over. Oops.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think
We
anybody.
don't need him to screw over a franchise that's had like 25 movies before it. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
And if this is um, Wilson and Broccoli's thing, they're idiots.
yeah. Well,
Well, yeah.
are they still alive? Broccoli Shirley's dead.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
his daughter,
Yeah,
Barbara.
okay, right.
Barbara Broccoli and her half brother, I think, or cousin, Michael Wilson, I think's his name.
Okay.
I think they're the ones that control the movies.
The
The the
franchise.
Yeah,
estate.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, like I told Michelle, I go, well, I've lived. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I like
How does it
James
not bother
Bond.
you? You want to see
Well,
another good
I'll
Bond
just
movie
ignore it and
again?
not go see it. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
But
that's how it.
well, I get you're not going to see it, but wouldn't you like to see a quality Bond movie?
Oh yeah,
Instead,
but
they're going to drop this turd
And
on
that
us.
is what happens. You are squandering resources on something that ordinarily would have produced an entertainment that you would like. Yeah,
well,
you're right.
that's true. But there's enough movie. I mean, I'll watch the Daniel Craig movies again, or I'll
Well,
watch the.
yeah, you'll do that, and you'll love them like you love them now. But they're losing the opportunity. And let's face it, these movies only come by about every 3 to 5 years. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna be stuck on this lame ass idea for 3 to 5 years before they pull their head out and go
exactly.
back to the winning formula. It's stupid.
Well,
Well,
I want them to do it just to see how people stay away in droves because that's what I imagine will happen. I mean, I can't imagine a big crowd forming up
well,
to go see it.
how did the Men in Black reboot go? It didn't do very good,
It
did it?
did very well, I don't think.
Well, it was up against some winners, so it was probably
Well,
crowded out. But I didn't want to see that movie anyway. It looked terrible.
Who was in
what?
that?
Not Will Smith.
Okay.
It's got the team from Thor 2, 3. It's got
Oh,
Chris Hemsworth
okay.
and the woman that played Valkyrie, and her name's escaping me right now.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So it
Well,
was a Hemsworth thing. Okay.
it's kind of like the Ghostbusters thing a few years ago. I didn't care if they were not that they were women Ghostbusters, but the movie was terrible.
Well, just a movie you're going to look at and go, I'm not going to go see that no matter what.
No, I mean I saw it. I didn't
Oh,
see it at the
okay.
theater, but it was just kind of like, it didn't. If you're gonna take a franchise, well, I mean they can do what they want to do, but I don't. I'm under no obligation to see this crap.
Well,
And
my sacrilege
I
on
love.
that would be Ghostbusters. I'm not one of those people that ever thought Ghostbusters was all that big a deal. I don't know.
Yeah, you're the wrong age.
I know it. I guess so.
Yeah. Well, 1 was okay, but I thought 2 was terrible. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Two was different, wasn't it?
It was. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed it,
Be right
but I
back.
mean, it had Bill Murray in it, man.
Yeah.
Bill Murray could polish a turd,
But every
man.
once in a while, well, I was going to say, even Bill Murray can drop a turd every once in a while.
Well, that's true. Anybody can, right?
Well, it's not even only him. It's the script or whatever else.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I could care. I mean, I don't I, like with the James Bond thing. Some of them I think are great, and some of them I think are terrible. Even at this point, I mean,
There was talk of. Go ahead.
I'll never watch a Pierce Brosnan one again.
There was talk about. I want to say 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when Sharon Stone was at the height of her powers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one. Are you guys talking about Tarantino?
Well, they were talking about Sharon Stone being the next Bond.
Oh, Sharon Stone. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
back in the day. This was 25 years ago, or whatever.
15 to 20, probably.
I was thinking of Sharon
Pre-Daniel,
Tate.
pre-Daniel Craig.
Yeah. And they were wanting to make a female Bond, and there was talk that Sharon Stone would be the female Bond, and I was like, well, there's 2 major problems with, well, 3 actually. one, she's a female. Two, she's not British, and three, she weighs like what, $105,
Yeah,
$110.
exactly.
They would, she can't get in a fight that's believable, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well,
and that's what they do. They show these scenes where people. It's a standard stunt to where you're thrown across the room and you land on your ribs across something, and it's like, and then you just go down and get back up eventually or real quick. You know, those sort of jolts put you down for a while.
That's real life.
that's
That's
what
not movie life.
Yeah, no,
that's what Ellis learned at the porn convention.
at the rodeo.
Those kind of jolts.
Those kind
That
of
jolt
jolts
put
will
me
put you.
down.
That jolt will put you down.
I got thrown across the room and landed on the table of my ribs.
Break the tape, buddy. Yeah.
Well, Ellis, it's like when I went and saw John Wick 3.
Yeah, John, what did you go see?
John Wick 3.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
now those are done well, aren't they?
oh, they're great, but on the most recent one, I went and saw it at the theater, and the theater was probably about half full, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And all this stuff. John Wick, probably between the three movies, gets hit by a car about 10 times. But
Yeah.
anyway, in this particular movie, he falls from a height. He falls from pretty damn far up there, right?
Right.
And he's bouncing off of shit on the way down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a guy behind me, kind of to my right, back a couple rows back, goes, "Oh, he's got to be dead now."
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm
where have
like,
you
"This
been?
cat's got hit by a car like 10 times.
Why would
He's
this
been
be
shot. He's been shot. He's been hit by a car.
how is this
He's
the
had the shit
one?
kicked out of him, but
Yeah,
you know,
I just watched Snatch the past couple of days, and it's got that Russian that takes so much damage in it, and he gets hit by a car, and you can see that the dummy that they hit, you know, they just cut its legs in two when they hit it. But later on, he's up and about, you know, because you know you get hit, you
not Keanu. Keanu takes those.
yeah, I know,
He
yeah.
doesn't get hit.
But anybody that's ever had, you see them. That your job is to have to deal with all the traumas in our life. Hey, you have to see all that blood and gore.
I gave that career up. I just
Oh, okay.
completely different now. But in the past, I've seen some pretty horrendous
Injury.
shootings, car wrecks, stabbings. I've seen a lot of pretty much the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I don't work in that thing anymore.
Emergency
that up.
stuff. Yeah.
Hey, some of your drawings there look kind of like ROM. I know it's not ROM, but I see a couple that look kind of like ROM.
Which me or
No, yours.
You.
okay. Yeah, I'm warming up for Earthworm Jim, kind of.
Dave, you know what an
body
Earthworm
type
Jim
and
is?
everything.
Oh yeah, I know Earthworm Jim, but the one that's above the speeder, it's directly above the speeder.
Yeah. Here, I'll
Kind of
focus
reminds
on
me.
me. Yeah, right
It
here.
looks like no, the one over to your right.
That.
Well, your picture might be the wrong way around.
That.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
From where I'm at and the resolution, it kind of looks like ROM.
It kind of does.
Which
Well,
to me is cool. You know, ROM is cool, so that's cool for me.
yeah, but
Yeah.
he's warming up for the he does a draw off on Wednesdays.
About eight people get together, 8 to 10, and they have a thing where we've got to I can't even visualize staying up for another 3 hours, but we'll draw for 2 or 3 hours, and then a panel will judge who did the best job. I have taken last place so many times, I can't even believe I'm still participating in it. But I'll
No one wants to be.
Well,
no one wants to be last.
yeah, I'll probably
Well,
try
who are
it.
these people you're up against?
Well,
Are
I'm
you
up against Mike Miller's the guy hosting it. He has something he calls Blacklist Universe on his YouTube channel, And Mike has been a very prominent inker. He inked, or he
He's
did the
done a
art,
ton of DC work.
and he did the Game of Thrones comic book, apparently, which I didn't know until I started hanging out with him again.
He must have done the most recent one because a friend of mine did the first arc, the first book. Remember
Well,
that? Remember
you
that
guys
guy we
probably,
went
he
out to
probably know, yeah.
Dave? You remember that
Oh,
guy we went to eat lunch with at New York that time, and his
yeah, with his,
wife Tommy
yeah,
Patterson? That's what he did
yeah.
was Game of Thrones.
I've got all those. I've got all those issues he did.
Yeah, I've got him too. I
I
don't know
was
what.
buying it. Hey, I was buying it before I even knew who he was. I was buying it because it's
Oh
Game of
yeah,
Thrones.
Because it's Game
He
of Thrones. Yeah.
yeah, he did probably, I want to say 24 issues, maybe something like that.
I wonder what that cat's doing now. I need to find. I guess I could email him. Yeah, email him. I guess.
I don't know if he's currently doing comic work. Is he?
I don't know, man. I hear so many horror stories about how hard it is to get work in comics and stuff, and how bad it pays when you are working. So, you know,
I think you kind of got to do your own thing. I wouldn't
Well,
depend
I
on.
would say that would
oh
be
yeah,
so obvious that nobody can stop you. That's kind of what Matt Drudge. Why the mainstream media hated that big get together of all these indie news sources, all these indie journalists, and they ran it down, but it's because they fear it. They realize that all this freedom is not what they want. They want to say, help us, overlords, get these guys, knock them back, and call them all haters, and let's get rid of all of these people.
Well,
yeah.
like a guy like Mario or whoever that's really talented. To me, if they just got with a really good writer, and I know it's not an easy thing to do, but to me the thing is to do some sort of like Indiegogo, or maybe even try to get your book at Image or somewhere like that, and just totally skip the big two.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what Doug Apple's doing with his comics.
Yeah.
You know, he's completely blown off it, and that drives people crazy because a lot of people feel like, well, if you're really a real comic creator, you'd be working at wherever. But
You'd
it's
be doing
like, well,
Batman.
yeah, you'd be doing Batman, but it's like, well, Batman's probably the exception, but it's like, well, if you're going to work for these people, you're not going to make any money, probably, and you're definitely not going to have any security or any kind of, and you're going to be working for their wages.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've never come forward and tried to be any sort of like a big help, saying, "Here, we." They've always been work for hire exploiters.
Well, and I at Kansas City a couple of years ago, I sat next to a guy, and he was telling me that Marvel specifically, that Marvel, when you work on a Marvel book, you have 3 page rates, and other people cooperated this. You have 3 page rates, and you don't know what you're going to get paid until you get your check. Because I was like, well, does it depend on how much work you do, whether it's breakdowns or layout? And he's like, no, there's an A, B, and I've heard that from people that every book has an A, B, and a C rate, and you don't know.
You're being graded in some sort of dynamic way you know nothing about.
Yes. And
Wow.
yeah, so you turn in your pages not knowing exactly what you're going to, and I don't know what the range is, and I've heard that one of the people that I was talking to who currently works at Marvel, I was talking to about when CB took over, and he was saying, yeah, one of the things is like, this was on a forum I was talking, but I know the guy, but he was saying a lot of the people that worked at Marvel were a little nervous because the rumor was that CB got the B rate reduced. So it's like apparently a couple of years ago, Marvel actually dropped they haven't raised their page rates in forever, and they actually dropped them a few years ago. That's the guy in Kansas City told me. But it's like, that apparently CB was instrumental. The rumor is that CB was instrumental in getting that rate reduced. And here he is running the company. So they're like, oh gosh,
Okay, what was I'm going to wrap it up here in minutes, I guess. But what was your worst experience at San Diego Comic Con?
I know mine. I can
Okay.
tell mine. Dave?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
okay. Yeah.
I
here.
got knocked. I got knocked off again, but I'm back up.
Well,
Oh,
your logo is showing, so that's as good as having your old live feed. You know
you
that.
might turn your video off. That might help with your
Well,
bandwidth.
it probably
That
did.
that logo right is a photo I took in 2009. We had a hotel room that had a balcony, and
Oh yeah.
it was probably my favorite room we had there. It was a really cool room, had a balcony, and I liked that view, so I took a photo of myself out on the balcony. And I had to lighten it because with the normal resolution, it ended up being real dark because of how bright it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that the place that looked out on the ocean or the bay
Yeah,
or
it looked
whatever,
out on the
like
ocean
on the
across
Star
from,
of India or whatever?
yeah, kind of across from where that battleship is, but more north of where the
Yeah.
battleship was. But yeah,
That was
it was like a Holiday Inn, I think.
well. I for some
There
reason.
is. But
Well, yeah, I think you're right. We stayed at a Wyndham one time or something up there, but
Yeah,
I don't think that was it. I think that was more inland.
yeah,
Over the years, we've stayed
but
farther and farther away. So, did you
but
hear
but you
Ellis?
guys went through 9 years of them. That's pretty impressive, really.
I
yeah,
feel bad when people tell me they've always wanted to go, and I had to tell them I've been to nine.
Yeah, yeah.
well, I
You
mean,
guys got the taste. You know, you've
Yeah,
done it.
hey,
I mean, I'll
if
go
I lived in
back.
California, I'd go every year. If I lived in California,
Sure, sure.
you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially if I lived in San Diego. The bad thing is, okay, like today, I think it was around 100 degrees here.
Yeah.
And typically, when we went, I think the con was a little bit later in the summer. I don't. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Well, a time or two was actually in August, or
That's what I was
starting
thinking.
July
Yeah.
and finished in
Yeah, it was
August.
kind of late at
We
times.
used to when Kirby was alive. It was always during his birthday, and that's like August 27th, I think. So it used to be late in the summer,
Late, late. Yeah.
but it seemed to have crept up as the years have gone by. But
Well, it used to be pushed around as like a poor relative. You know, I mean, I can't think of
yeah,
my cliche. You know,
so so I uh, so I was thinking just today. I was thinking, when we were going to the con, I remember like in the summer here in Oklahoma, it would be hotter than crap, and just
yeah,
thinking, man, I'm gonna go to San Diego, and it's gonna be probably in the 70s. Most of the time, I didn't wear shorts when we were out there because it was cool in the building, and it wasn't that hot outside. And we were there one year; it was pretty hot, but man, for the most part, the weather was phenomenal.
yeah, you can burn up out there in San Diego. It's even though it's it's nothing like here, but it gets hot.
Yeah. The
You're in the ocean.
Dave Ellis asked what our worst experience was.
Yeah,
We're going to wrap it up with the worst experience. You go first. I'll tell mine.
let me think about mine. You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Um, Probably the worst. And by the way, I've generally had, and I could probably tell you what Dave's is. If he Dave's had two phone issues out in California
Well,
at San
thanks for stealing
Diego.
my thunder.
Okay,
Stole my thunder.
okay, okay. I won't steal Dave's thunder. The worst thing that ever happened to me out there was, um, I we were leaving one time, and where we stayed, we were far enough away that we rode a bus back to our hotel, a shuttle bus, and we were waiting, and I had a headache, and I had a bottle of water with me, but I didn't have any water, and so I was going to go in the convention center and get water, and I went to the thing, and it's just in the lobby. I went to go in, and this guy stops me at the door. Security guard stops me, and as I'm walking in, he puts his hand right on my chest, says, "You can't come in here." And I go, "Oh no, no, I'm sorry, I got my badge. I was just going to get some water." And so I dug my badge out, and I told the guy, and but by the way, I don't think you should be putting your hands on people like that. I was pissed. I had a headache,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Well, you walked into me," and I go, "Here's my badge," and I go, "But no, you put your hand on me first," and then he was like, he gets on his radio and he goes, "I
He's,
need some backup here. I have a problem,"
he's ready
and I
for
go,
action. Yep. Yep.
"Oh my gosh, dude! It went from me not having my badge, which by the way, you can go in the lobby without a badge. You just can't go in the
Sure.
conventions. It
Sure.
was not in the main doors.
Mhm.
And this is after hours. And there's events there that you can go to. So I got my badge out, and he's calling, and he's like, "You can't come in here." And I had my badge.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't come in here." And I was like, and then he started calling. And I go, I can come in here. I want to get some water. And he was like, started calling for backup. And I had this, I mean, he got really irate. And I had this mental picture about, you hear those stories about bouncers that will get a group of them, they'll drag somebody behind a building, just beat the crap out of them,
Yeah.
and then you have no recourse because it's like your word against theirs, and he was
Yeah.
like, well, you ran into me first. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And so I left. I was like, dude, never mind. I'm out of here. And he's like, no, come back here. And I'm like, no. And
Sure.
I knew he wouldn't leave the door, and it wasn't right by our bus. So I just walked back and got on the bus. But I went by later and I saw the guy's name on his tag, and I went by security later and complained about him, but but that's probably the worst, and that wasn't that bad, really. It was just kind of one of those deals where you're in a situation, all of a sudden it escalates really.
Yeah. Those kind of people that have no touch for how to keep things from escalating, or
Oh my gosh, he was looking for it to escalate,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I was just trying to get water.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well,
Dave,
that's the word. Okay. Go ahead,
yeah,
Dave. Tell us a bad experience.
Well, okay, so one year Scott and I was out there early. We got out there actually a day early, I believe, or maybe really early in the morning.
I
And
think we
my
were real
cell
early in the
phone,
morning.
yeah, my cell phone messed up. It wouldn't, the screen on it. And this is back when your cell phones were like the little bitty cell phones that had the little slide piece that slid down. It had the keyboard behind the slide
Yeah.
piece, and the phones were only about maybe 3 or 4 inches tall and about an inch wide
Yeah.
and
Bring us
about an
back.
inch deep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
small little Sony phones what I had, right? And it
Not a
was screwing up.
smartphone.
Yeah.
Huh?
Not a smartphone.
Oh no, this is way before smartphone. Um, anyways, it was screwing up. It wasn't working properly, and we found out that there was like a AT&T or wherever right by, not too far away from where the convention was. And so Scott said, "Hey, I'll ride over there with you." We actually rode the,
A
what was
train,
it?
didn't we? Or
Well, it's more like almost like a monorail. What was it?
it was some kind of, it was like some kind of streetcar thing or
Yeah,
something, but it
yeah,
was
it was
a
exactly. It wasn't like a train, but we rode it from downtown around through Old Town or whatever, maybe 5 miles. We didn't run it real far, but we didn't have cars, of course. This is way before Uber, you know,
Yeah.
and so we made it over there, and those people were able to switch all my information onto this new phone. Got the exact same model. They took care of it for me. I didn't pay anything. They just upgraded me, or just they just realized this phone I had
yeah.
was
The
messed
phone
up.
was dead. Yeah, it was under warranty or whatever.
Yeah, it actually it started at first. It started having double pictures on the screen, and then at one point it just completely died. And so got a new phone, whatever. A couple days later, with my new phone that I've only had a couple days, I'm in the Big Bang Theory panel. This is back when Big Bang Theory was only been on the air like 1 or 2 seasons, you know. So
Mhm.
it was like really on, maybe the first season or second season of Big Bang. We were at the con, and I love this show. So I was at their panel. I had my phone out. I had a camera out, and I had my bag with me, and I had a good spot in the panel. I was taking photos and blah blah blah. And I get up to leave the panel, and I dropped my phone and didn't realize it.
Oh.
And this phone is so small that when it hit the floor in a huge room,
Yeah.
this room probably had seated like 1,000 people or something. I didn't realize it hit the floor. I didn't hear it hit the floor because it's a carpeted room or whatever. I get out in the hallway, and I realize, I don't have my phone. So I go back in there, and it wasn't on the floor, right where I was sitting at. I mean, I'd only been gone like maybe 5 minutes tops, maybe 5 or 10. It was real quick. I turned right around and went back in there. And I told the guys in front of me that were on the row in front of me, they were there before. I go, "Hey, and it's dark in there, right?" So I go, "Hey, is my phone on the floor there by your feet or whatever?" And they're looking around. They're like, "No, no, no, no." And I mean, they made an effort to look for my phone. They didn't find it. And then this girl goes, "Hey, I saw somebody pick up your phone, and they said they're going to take it to the lost and found."
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks." So this is probably pretty naive of me, but I was like, "Okay, I'll just go down to lost and found." So I go down to lost and found, and I mean, I went by there every day, and there were probably, and I'm not kidding you, there were probably between 10 and 20 phones in that lost and found box, and a few cameras, and a few really nice cameras. And my phone was never in there. And so I lost my phone, which really sucked because when they moved all my content to this other phone, I had like photos and videos of my sons when they were younger that I had shot in my car, and I never had a chance to back them up yet.
Oh
So
man, it's
so
bad.
I lost all of that, which was extremely upsetting to
Oh
me.
yeah.
And I never got my phone back. I even called the con building, the convention center building, probably about a week after the con. Talked to some people. I said, "Hey, you have a lost and found in the building. Was my phone ever found?" And they actually located a lost and found box or whatever, and they went through the whole thing, and my phone was never located, which was an extreme bummer for me.
Yeah, that's the sort of travel sadness a person gets into. You take that chance when you get out of
Oh,
your
absolutely.
usual routines.
I,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
in my mind, I didn't realize those happened the same year. I mean, now that you say that, I remember that.
Yeah, because we stayed out at Point Loma that year.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Stayed
Oh,
out
was
at
that the
Point
year
Loma
we
that
stayed at
year.
Point Loma? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Because I remember that because I was sitting on the floor in our hotel room plugging my phone into the the electrical receptacle or whatever, trying to get my phone to come on, and I'd leave it on for a while. Try to turn my phone on, it wouldn't come on. It never really came on properly after we got off the plane.
Yeah,
Or
I remember
landed.
that you had
It
trouble with it once.
yeah,
Once you took it out of airplane mode
it just well, I don't think they even had airplane mode back then. I just tried to turn it back on, and
or
it started
turn it
messing
back
up,
on. Yeah.
and it wouldn't work properly. And then so we went to all this trouble to get it switched out, and literally like a day or two later I lost it. And so I was calling Scott's phone from memory in the
Yeah.
using the convention center payphone.
Uh-huh.
Had to call
That's
my
how.
wife from the convention center payphone. I doubt they even have payphones in the convention center
Yeah, yeah.
anymore.
It'd be hard to find something like that.
It was so inconvenient. I can't tell you how. And this was early on in the cell phone.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah. Now it'd be a million times worse.
right. But it was now you've got your password stored in your phone and all that other business in your phone that you really didn't have back in those days. But yeah, it was an awful experience. So it taught
Well,
me a lesson about definitely personal security with all your shit.
yeah. Well, my that's pretty bad. My worst experience is probably just the knowledge that I had a friend that he had a table. He was selling paintings. God, his name probably won't come to me. I'm so bad anymore. But he worked with me at Blue Sky Software, and he told me, "Oh, you just missed him." He had been palling around with Frazetta. And
Oh.
Frazetta, it's very rare he shows up at a convention anyway. And so I missed out on palling around a little bit with Frazetta. I sure would have liked to have done that.
Oh my
Wow, no
gosh, that
kidding.
sucks.
Yeah.
Hey, we met
Yep.
his granddaughter.
Oh yeah, I know. You guys had an interview with him on your con, or on your podcast, which I will post links to after I do the cut and paste from our past stuff.
Very cool.
Okay. Well, hey Dave, it's good to see you. We'll do this again. We'll talk uh, very into it. So, man, my names are bad today.
We'll
Oh
make a crib sheet.
yeah, I'll make a crib sheet of everybody having
This
names.
is this is yeah. This is who yeah.
This is who I'm talking to now.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
lot of
Exactly.
fun. I'll do it again. It's a lot of fun, Ellis.
Okay. We'll see you guys. I'm stopping broadcast.